We've been talking a lot about Western collapse lately, and we've also been talking about moving out of the country lately on these videos, and I've gotten a lot of questions about it. So in this video, I'm going to answer a few random questions that I see over and over again in the YouTube comments and in my email and my blogs and things like that, so we can clarify a few things. I am Caleb Jones, and this is Alpha Male 2.0. Freedom-focused lifestyle design for men, for you. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. We do 5 videos a week here on how to make both your business life and your woman life more free, because you need both. By the way, we are doing an online course drawing giveaway right now. This is my online course on how you can design your own location-independent business, something you'll need if you want to move out of the country. I normally retail that for about $1,400, but you might be able to get it for free. All you need to do is subscribe to this channel here at YouTube, like this video, leave a comment, and I will announce the winner of the drawing every 2 weeks at the YouTube community feed here at this YouTube channel. So, first question I get. This is the first question I get. This is one of the questions I've seen a lot. Hey Caleb, if you move out of the Western world, which I am moving in February, it's official. Matter of fact, it is literally official. I just did some stuff in the last 4 or 5 days to make it official. So I'm moving out in February. I cannot wait. February can't come soon enough, man. God damn, I'm so excited. Pink Firefly's a little nervous, but I'm excited. Anyway, if you move out of the Western world, which I am, aren't you gonna feel dumb if the Western world doesn't collapse? If you're wrong and the Western world does great while you move out? Okay, so a few aspects. Number one, that would be the ideal scenario for me. As I've said many times, and a lot of guys either forget this or I don't communicate this well, my number one reason for leaving the Western world, specifically the United States, is not because I think the West is going to collapse. I do think the West is going to collapse in our lifetimes. I would bet a lot of money on it. Matter of fact, I kind of am. So it is going to collapse, but that's not why I'm leaving. That is about reason number 4 out of about 7 or 8 reasons. Reason number 1 are business reasons, specifically tax reasons, to legally reduce my taxes. That is the number 1 reason why I'm leaving. Now there's a number 2 reason, a 3 reason, a 4 reason, a 5 reason, and again, the fact that the United States is on this way down the toilet is probably reason number 4. But reason number 1 is taxes. So, when I move out of the Western world, let's say within a year or 2, America does great, and I'm all wrong. I'm not wrong, but I'm all wrong, and Europe and Canada and America just boom economically, and it's a paradise. That would be the absolute ideal scenario, because I would make so much money off the booming Western world, but paying a tiny fraction of the taxes I pay now in my foreign location. So that would be fucking awesome if I moved out of the West and then the West exploded economically in a good way. That would be great. Now, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. The only scenario under which the West actually is saved, as I've talked about before, has nothing to do with politics, has nothing to do with economics, has to do with technology. It is possible that somebody somewhere in the future invents some amazing thing that transforms everything and changes the game and saves the West. You know, some guy in some garage somewhere invents a battery that's this big that can power your house for 40 years and it costs $40. Yes, that might save the West, sure. Is that going to happen? I don't know. It could. Am I going to bet my life on that? Am I going to bet my entire future on some Elon Musk type guy at some point down the road inventing some magical thing? No, I'm not going to bet my life on it, so I'm leaving. But again, that's reason number 4, not reason number 1. Cool, but hey, if I'm wrong and the West does great after I leave, holy shit, that'd be awesome. Holy crap. It's not going to happen. I'm going to do fine either way. Here's the deal. You can construct your Alpha 2.0 life to benefit from the collapse of the Western world, and if you do that, you will still benefit if the Western world doesn't collapse. Whereas if you don't do Alpha 2.0, if you're just a typical guy with a typical job and invest in the stock market and do whatever you want, if the West does well, you'll be fine. If the West collapses, you'll be fucked. I would rather you not be fucked no matter what happens. So I'm going to do well if the West collapses or if the West does well. Either way, I'm going to do okay. Not a big deal. Cool? Okay. Next question I get. Caleb, don't you understand that if the West collapses, it's not just the Western countries that'll have a problem. All the other countries in the world will have problems too. They will also be affected. So how does moving out of the country help? Again, to repeat, The reason I'm moving out of the country is not necessarily to escape the collapse. That is reason number 4. Reason number 1 is taxes, and reason number 2 or 3 are business reasons and financial reasons, not collapse reasons. So, but that being said a second time, the answer is yes. Many non-Western countries will suffer when America, Europe, Canada go down. That's true. If America collapsed tomorrow morning, China would be in big trouble. Absolutely true. That is correct. That's right. However, it's not every country. It's not every country in the world. Some countries don't, I know this is going to blow your mind, some countries don't engage in a lot of trade with the United States. For example, if America collapsed tomorrow morning, people in Paraguay, for example, just to name one country, wouldn't even notice. They wouldn't even notice. I'm not kidding, they wouldn't notice. They'd see it on the news, they'd talk about it, but their day-to-day life would not change. Because Paraguay is not this gigantic trading partner with the United States. It trades with other countries that trade with the United States, but not enough to hurt Paraguay. Does that make sense? So there are some countries, South America, Africa, Southeast Asia to a degree, some smaller countries all over the world that won't have a problem if and when the West collapses. Number 1. Number 2, Asia is on the rise irrelevant of a Western collapse, specifically Southeast Asia, as I've talked about before, and yes, China. So when America collapses, yes, China's going to have some real problems. China is also going to benefit. I've talked a lot about that at my blog, specifically the Caleb Jones blog, on what China is doing, as well as Russia, as well as India, to prepare for getting off the US dollar and various other things so that they won't be damaged quite as much when America collapses. I'm not saying they won't have trouble. I'm saying that China will still be on the rise and Asia will still be on the rise if and when Europe collapses, America collapses, Canada collapses. They will have problems, but they will still be on the rise. All in all, the bottom line is this. Do you want to live in the United States when it collapses and be fucked? Or do you want to live somewhere outside the United States when the United States collapses and be inconvenienced? I've talked about this before in prior videos. And again, to repeat from what I said in prior videos, you could stay in the collapsing Western world as long as you do the 6 things I've talked about in a prior video. You could do that. Another comment that I've seen a lot are guys who think that if they just do one thing, they'll be okay. So I've seen guys say things like, well, I'll be okay because I have a lot of Bitcoin. Well, what else are you doing? I already covered a video on that. Just having Bitcoin is not going to save you from the collapse. I'm very sorry. Well, I'll be okay, Caleb, because I have a lot of silver. That's great. I have a lot of silver too, and Bitcoin and gold. I got a lot of that stuff, but that's not all I've done. I've done a lot of other things. So this is a little more complicated other than just, I can just carry on with my stupid corporate job and have money in the stock market and have a bunch of debt and have location dependent income. But if I just make that one change of having a bunch of cryptocurrency, I'll be safe. No, and I've already talked about in prior videos the things you need to do to prepare to make sure you survive and or thrive if and when there's a collapse. It's more than just buy a bunch of silver or I got a lot of guns and a lot of bullets. That's not all you need. As a matter of fact, if you live outside the United States, you don't even need guns and bullets because no one else has guns and bullets. I've said before, for you, you gun-toting guys, yes, if you live in the United States, you need to own a gun. Yes, you need to do that. I've said that before many times. But if you live in Japan, as again, it's just one example, you don't need a gun. Nobody has any guns in Japan, including bad guys. You don't need a gun. Getting a gun in Japan, thinking you need a gun for self-defense in Japan is stupid. So it depends on the country. So it's a little more complicated than some of you are saying. Next question I've received, and I already answered this earlier, is what will stop the collapse? Now, first of all, let me tell you what will not stop the collapse. Voting for somebody. Voting for Trump or Bernie Sanders or Republicans or Democrats or whatever version you've got in your own country if you're in Canada or Europe. No politician, no political party, and I've said this a billion times, will stop the collapse. If you really wanted to stop the collapse and save America or save Europe or save Canada, you missed that window by about 25 years. If you really wanted to save America, you should have voted for Ross Perot back in the 90s. He could have pulled that off. He could have saved America. Not because Ross Perot was anything great or wonderful, but because it was able to have been saved back in the 90s. That was 25 years ago. That window was long past. So no, voting for people is not going to stop the collapse. Something else that's not going to stop the collapse is political activism. I've said this a billion times. I'll just summarize this really quickly. The WTO riots in the early 2000s. The WTO now has more power since those riots occurred. It didn't do shit. The Occupy Wall Street protests. The big banks have even more money and more power and are now more leveraged than they were when people were protesting them at the Occupy Wall Street protests. The Tea Party protests. Government is far bigger and far more powerful and spends far more money and has far more laws now since the Tea Party protests. I could go on and on and on and on. Political activism, rioting, protesting, going to marches is not going to stop shit. At best, it will adjust it 1 or 2% one way or the other. It's not going to save America. It's not going to make America any noticeably different. That also applies to Canada. That also applies to Europe. So that's what will not prevent the collapse. What will prevent the collapse, maybe, I put the odds maybe 20%. Someone may invent something that changes the game. That could happen. That is possible. That could happen. And what did I say earlier? I move out of the collapsing Western world, it gets worse and worse and worse, and someone invents some magical thing and suddenly there's prosperity for all. Holy shit, that'd be great. I would stay out of the West and just make a shitload of money paying this much tax. Great. But that's the only thing that's going to save the West. Sorry. Those are the big questions I wanted to answer. As time goes on, I will answer other questions as I see them come up, especially if multiple people ask them. If you need more help designing your Alpha 2.0 business or anything else like that, you can go to joinsmic.com. That is my audio training and mentorship program. Or in the meantime, you can click here to learn about how the Alpha 2.0 business model compares to other business models. Or you can click here to learn how to handle your healthcare if you live outside of the collapsing Western world. I will see you very soon.